How's it going, everybody? Welcome to 7 Ways Email is Slowing Down Your Logistics Business and What You Can Do About It. My name is Vishal Vibhakar. Glad to have everyone here on board. Feel free to comment into the chat, ask your questions. Would love to hear where you're coming from and what brought you to this webinar. So don't be shy to say hi. Great, so let's get started. Like I said, my name is Vishal Vibhakar, and I am a product expert here at Front. So how will today's session work? As you have questions, please add them to the chat. At the end of this webinar, there's going to be plenty of time for a Q&A. And like I said, you'll receive a recording as well. So be sure to look out for that. So great. So here's our agenda. We're going to go through a brief introduction. Then I'll give you an overview. And then we'll go into the 7 ways. And like I said, at the end of this webinar, there's going to be time for a Q&A. So you can feel free to ask your questions right now, and I'll answer them as I go along or save some time at the end. Our goals for today are really how to avoid getting buried in your inbox, ways your team can be transparent and accountable, and how you can seamlessly hand off projects between shifts. These are just some of the few things that we're going to be covering, but these are some of our goals that we're going to have for today. Great, so I wanted to give a brief overview of Front in case you may not have heard of what Front is. Front enables your team to collaborate on email and accomplish more together. We are an email collaboration tool used by over 5,000 customers where you could create shared inboxes where multiple people can access an inbox. You could triage emails from that inbox, use rules to automatically assign messages, create tags, set up canned responses. And then there's also an analytics portion of it where you could monitor things like response time and reaction time. So let's get started. So really, what I wanted to cover and start things off with is how you may currently be working. And if you got a chance to register on our page, one of our headlines was "The way you're working isn't working," and this image right here kind of shows potentially what you're dealing with today. You have an inbox of countless emails. You have people unsure if messages have been replied to your customers or prospects, and it's just a big mess. And this might look familiar to you. Did someone follow up from John from IT? You're getting a chat message and you're wondering if that was also responded to. You're getting a lot of CCs, a lot of urgent requests, a lot of question marks, a lot of requests to get an answer ASAP. And the problem really is that your inbox can't keep up with demand. Your inbox probably hasn't changed in the last 10 or 20 years if you're using Gmail or Outlook. And yeah, there have been a few improvements here and there, but the core functionality is still very much the same. For your team, every missed email is a missed opportunity and a potential loss of revenue. But your business is growing, your inbox is flooded, yet your team may still be dropping the ball. So personal inboxes actually give your business multiple points of failure. Critical conversations stop, important information gets trapped. There's no way to track every message from start to finish. Every person is a possible bottleneck in your process. If you're using distribution lists, which I know a lot of logistics companies are leveraging today, they lack visibility and leave you open for errors. Your customer has a single point of contact, but no one on your side knows who is responsible for replying. High risk of double replies, potentially even with conflicting information. And this creates a really bad scenario where one person's replying with one answer and another colleague is replying with another, confusing your customer or your prospect. And multiple distribution lists cause email overload in everyone's inbox. You become desensitized to the amount of emails you're receiving, and you may think that it's already been taken care of when it's not, or you yourself decide to take care of it when somebody else already has. Shared mailboxes in Outlook are not a single source of truth. It's difficult to quickly triage emails and assign them to the right person. If one person deletes a message, it's gone forever. And there's really no insight into what's happening in your inbox. Now we're going to go into the challenges. The way I've structured this webinar today is we're going to go through the 7 ways, and each of the 7 ways presents a unique challenge. And then I'm going to go into some of the solutions that you could employ to address these challenges. So number 1, timely messages getting buried in high volumes of inboxes. And the solution really is to improve turnaround time with automated messaging. So when your business is growing, more demand means more emails. But that leaves you spending hours per week sorting through all of your messages. That's time you could be spending on more important things. So the first one, how Front helps. Front ensures that every single message is automatically routed to the right person or team. So you spend less time triaging your emails in your inbox and more time on your important work. This visual right here is maybe an example of what you're facing every day. You're getting an urgent request from a VIP customer, yet this is getting lost. And so what Front actually helps you do is make sure that these messages are automatically being routed to the person that is responsible for handling that client account, for example. You're going to get these messages directly to that point of contact. So really, the way this works is you set up a rule. If an email hasn't been responded to, for example, within 15 minutes, you can create a rule that's escalated into a high priority inbox. So you could set up an inbox just like you set up a distribution list, but instead of everyone getting sent this exact same email, you funnel all of those emails to a shared inbox that multiple teammates can manage, that everyone has oversight into. So there's clear visibility. And then you could create a rule to mark this message that hasn't been responded to, for example, within 15 minutes with a label that says urgent. So right away, you have this indication with this tag on your email that a very important client has not been responded to within 15 minutes. And so somebody better get back to them. You could automatically tag emails from VIP clients so they stand out and receive special attention. So if a email is coming in from Pepsi, for example, and that's your VIP client, you could automatically tag that email with VIP, for example. You could then route these requests to the closest geographical team or account owner. So say that client is in the East Coast and you're in the West Coast. You could route that email to the person that's available for them to reply right away in their time zone. Or say it's just you guys have a system like we do here up front where you have account owners for each of the accounts. You could then route that email to the specific account owner so they don't miss it. And you're not worried about whether or not it's been sent or received to the right person. Then we have canned responses that you could save. So if you're getting a lot of inquiries with the exact same questions, you could create canned responses for these inquiries, like quotes. And then you could send this quickly and thoroughly, as well as consistently. And you can automate this too. So you can automate a workflow, for example, where if an email from a VIP client has come in, you could tag it with the VIP. If it hasn't been responded to within 15 minutes, you could add an urgent tag to it. You could then route these emails to the right person that should be managing it. And then you could set up an automatic canned response. So, for example, if it's related, if within the body of the email says quotes, you could send them the appropriate canned response for this. Number 2. A challenge that you might be facing is that you have zero accountability. And a solution for this is shared inboxes where we have built-in assignments. So distribution lists and shared Outlook mailboxes make it impossible for teammates to coordinate who is working on what. Multiple people might respond to a request, so your customer receives double the emails, maybe even with conflicting information. Or no one responds because they assume someone else is already on it. Either way, the customer is frustrated, and this makes you look bad. So this is how Front helps. With Front, your entire team has a shared view of every inbound email, and you can assign it or claim it so there's clear ownership. So I think the key difference here between a distribution list or Google Groups and shared inboxes is with these distribution lists, everybody that's on the list is getting the exact same email. And this is causing inbox overload or email overload in your inbox. It's causing lack of visibility into if this email has been responded to. And the way the shared inbox is solved for this is that you actually, like I said, funnel these emails to the shared inbox that multiple people can access. So now these emails are outside of your personal inbox. Your personal inbox is no longer being cluttered with this email, and you have it all organized in the shared inbox that multiple people can access, and you have the visibility to see whether or not these emails have been responded to. So you're not double emailing and you're not missing them. We have a really great quote here from Jordan Kidd from FreightWorks, who runs their transportation logistics department. With Front, the customer has a single point of contact, but on our side, we know exactly who is working on what and when it's done. And again, I think this really emphasizes that visibility, that transparency that Front provides that Gmail, Outlook, unfortunately, do not have built in with their systems. So number 3, challenge, is inefficient internal communication. And this is something that I know a lot of logistics companies are dealing with. A lot of our customers deal with. This is one of the main reasons that they come to us. And we provide them with a solution of that you can move faster with internal only comments. So getting a shipment to the right place at the right time is not a 1% show. Often you're looping in other teammates and other departments with CCs, BCCs, and forwards, again, contributing to email clutter. Or you're kicking off a thread about a client email by sending another email to your coworkers. But all of that back and forth can cause slowdowns in your replies back to customers. This is probably my favorite aspect of Front. At mention. You can at mention teammates in Front to have fast internal discussions about quotes and shipments without messy BCCs or CCs. Easily loop in coworkers to get their input and collaborate on responses. So if you can see here on this image that I have, instead of actually forwarding this email, CCing somebody or BCCing that person and creating yet another email within your thread, you could actually directly comment on the email. And that's what's going on here between Brandon and Claire. And so Brandon is tagging Claire. Can you follow up with the carrier? And Claire can quickly respond and say on it. And so no email is being sent between the two. They're commenting directly on this email that's only visible to them, so the customer doesn't see this on their end. And then Claire can go ahead and respond to this urgent delivery request. So I love this quote. That's probably one of my favorite quotes from Andrew Whipple from Logistics Dynamic. And he says, no more emails about emails. We know what's going on at all times, and we know exactly what's a priority right away. Like I said, this feature is probably my favorite feature. This works so seamlessly. It makes it so easy for me to loop somebody in. I don't have to think about formalizing an email and writing it all out. I could quickly just tag my colleague. They will get a notification actually in Front that they have been tagged. And then they could respond to me right away within that email, and I'm not creating additional email mess within my inbox. Like I said, again, everyone that's listening in, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. We'll have some time at the end, but I'll keep this moving along as long as you don't have any questions. Otherwise, I could go ahead and answer them whenever that happens. So number 4, challenge. Giving feedback on an email draft is a pain. I'm sure a lot of you have dealt with this. Maybe you're new to the company, or you have new teammates and they're not sure how to respond, or they're dealing with the client that you have more knowledge of, right? And so you don't have the bandwidth to get back to the client right away. You need some help kind of getting this conversation started without sending it right away. And so we here have a solution for that. With shared drafts, you can reduce errors across the board. So when you're crafting a reply back to a customer, it can be tough to get fast feedback from someone else on your team. You have to forward a copy of your email draft to your coworker, incorporate their thoughts, and then send it back to your customer on the original thread. Often it's not worth the hassle, which means you might hit send without getting the thumbs up. So here we have a solution, a really awesome solution at Front, which is called draft sharing, which lets you share and collaborate on an email before it's sent to customers. With one click, you can get a second pair of eyes or quick approval on critical messages. So the way this works is you draft up an email just like you normally would, and then you click the share draft button on this email and you pick who you'd like to share it with. So for example, here, this Ryan wants to share it with Matthew, right? So Ryan drafts up the email, clicks the share draft button, finds Matthew, and then Matthew gets tagged, and Matthew can now access this drafted email that they both can actually simultaneously collaborate on and work together on, and then comment on to share their opinions about the draft. Another great quote from Andrew from Logistics Dynamics. What if somebody accidentally sent the wrong invoice or information to one of your biggest customers? Before, if you're using any other service, it would be impossible to do anything but send an apology after the fact. With Front, we see everything happening in real time and stop that kind of thing before it happens. So I think this is a really great use case, and maybe something that your team is facing day to day. You're drafting up an email, or your colleague is, or your subordinate is. You're not around to approve this message, and they just hit send, and there's the wrong invoice or just the wrong information. Or maybe you've already sent something to that customer and they didn't know, right? With shared drafts, instead of tapping somebody on the shoulder, which they may be worried about, or you may not be around to do that, they could quickly share this with you. You could access this in Front. You could comment on the draft, let them know it's good to go, or just make your edits directly on that draft and then give them the feedback, give your colleague the feedback, and then they could hit send, or you could just hit send yourself. So again, I think this is a very, very useful feature that really prevents, I think, a lot of big mistakes. So number 5, the challenge is handoffs between shifts are messy. And with Front, you could keep conversations moving with an out-of-office feature. So this is a huge request. And luckily, we have this here at Front from our logistics customers, because a lot of our customers, their teams have shifts. And so once their shift is done, they're clocking out, yet the customer hasn't clocked out yet on their end, and they may be left hanging until the very next day when that employee gets back into the office. And an entire day has gone by, and the customer needed something maybe urgent. And so this, again, creates a very poor experience and can really result in a lot of issues, at least what we're hearing from our customers. So Front has this really cool feature called out of office feature. And this is not just great for when you're off the shift, but this is also great for when you're on vacation. When your first shift leaves for the day, any response to their email goes straight to the shared team inbox for the next shift to take over. And since the history is preserved, every agent has the context they need to jump right into a conversation. So here you could see how it works. You could turn this out of office feature on just with simply a click of the button, and it's on. And like it said here, right, when employee their shift is over, they turn this on. Any reply from the customer that they've been conversing with now goes directly to the shared inbox that everyone can manage. And then the next person that's on the shift can then automatically see that it's available, see that their past colleague is no longer working on the shift, and then take over the conversation. And because the conversation history is already there, it's very seamless. And the customer on their end has no idea that this seamless interaction has happened. And you could even make it where if an employee goes off shift, then those emails or the responses from their inbox go specifically to another employee. So instead of funneling it to a shared inbox for multiple employees to access, you could choose which specific employee you want that response to now be taken over by. So we have a great question here from Tina. Tina, I'm gonna get back to you at the end and answer that, but thank you for asking. So number 6, challenge: no insight into what's happening in your inbox. So this again is a very big problem that a lot of our logistics companies get frustrated with. They don't exactly know what's happening. And our solution here is email analytics to power your business. So again, huge missing component from Gmail and from Outlook. And though you spend most of your day in your inbox, traditional email clients just don't offer this visibility into critical business metrics, and it leaves your team blind. So this is really a much more in-depth slide here. With insights that you can pull from front, you can use data to inform your strategy and to more accurately predict demand. So you could use front analytics for setting and meeting response time SLAs. So you could track the average response time and the average first response time. So this is, again, if you have SLAs with customers and you're promising a specific time that you're gonna get back to them, you could track this, and you could actually set a goal, for example, with your team that you want to hit this for every 7 minutes, for example. You could track that, you could see it, and then you could set a goal of like how you want to improve that by 20%, for example. And you could go back and look at the data and see how you've improved. You could project revenue based on email volume. So you could examine trends in email volume to better project future business. So one of our customers does this regularly, where they're looking at the amount of emails that are going back and forth. And it really is a leading indicator to understand the business that they're, or the revenue that they're accumulating by just email volume alone. And so finance teams love this, where they can project revenue due to this metric specifically. I think this is a great one. It's staffing to meet business needs. So you could use past demand to intelligently and accurately staff support across spikes and seasonality. So you could look at front analytics, allows you to see like what is your busiest day, what are your busiest times of hour, and you can leverage that data to then decide how many employees you want to staff during those periods of time or during those specific days. You could reduce employees during those lower volume hours, increase it during the higher volume hours. And I think this insight is extremely valuable. Tons of our customers have really found this helpful to help them manage their employee workload. And then create custom reports. So you could filter for inboxes, you could filter for channels, you could filter for tags, and for conversations. And then you could track individual and team performance over time. So this is great. If you have specific things that you're looking at that other companies or people are not looking at, you could really make front flexible and customize it for your business. So here's like just a small view into front analytics. You can see Claire here has the #1 reaction time, 58 seconds. Amazing. Brandon is at 3 minutes. Jamie is at 8 minutes. And you can kind of see this rank of how quickly your employees are getting back to your customers. So we have two metrics, actually. We have reaction time and we have response time. So reaction time is actually, say Claire assigns the email to Brandon, for example. That's a reaction. So we track that, but we also track reply time. So if Claire, assigns that to Brandon, that's not going to go into the reply time, but if Claire replies back to the customer, that's a separate metric. And then just below, you can see the total number of messages received and the percentage of increase or decreasing day over day. You can see, the busiest day of the week, Wednesday, for this example, and the busiest time, 8 to 11 a.m. So I think this sort of insight is so critical to helping you really manage your team and understand your staffing needs. So here we have a quote from Douglas from M&X. With Front, we can predict business trends, better prepare for seasonality, and make appropriate plans for team members' vacations. So again, predicting your business trends, preparing for seasonality. You could leverage this during the holidays, during the summertime months when you have shifts in your workload, and it's highly valuable for managers. So the last one, number 7, is no clear audit trail, the challenge that a lot of our logistics customers face. And the solution that we have is you can keep track of this critical information with Front. So personal inboxes are silos, making it hard to piece together what happened with a past shipment or customer. There's no way to track every message from start to finish or find the answers you need if you weren't CC'd on the original chain. So your inbox, and I'm not sure how it works for everyone, but it may be just a mess and you're really unsure of what's going on, what's happened with you, your teammates, and of course, your customer interactions. I wanted to share this quote we have from Douglas from M&X Global Logistics, who was talking about using shared mailboxes in Outlook. He said, before everyone was accessing the same account. If one person accidentally deleted an email, there was no way of knowing who deleted it, and if it was ever there in the first place. And this, and I'll tell you, I've chatted with a lot of our customers, is one of the most frustrating things. I think that's why we have this at the end for a lot of our customers, is just this lack of visibility into what's going on. And I think the end is so telling. It's not necessarily like knowing if it was deleted, but if it was even there in the first place. So Front actually acts as your organization's long-term memory. I think that's like the analogy I could put here. It's a shared, searchable history of every interaction your business has ever had. And right within your inbox, you can reference the context of a past shipment, look up previous communications with the customer, see internal discussions about a carrier, so the discussions on the thread, not just the emails, but even like the commenting that I described earlier. And then you could connect your CRM to get a fuller picture of each kind. So we have integrations. We have over 50 integrations. About half a dozen of them are with CRMs, and you could build actually a custom integration if you're using one that we're not currently integrated with. And you could then access all of this information alongside your email and conversation history. And so here, this is an example of how Shipamax is able to view this customer profile directly in their Front inbox. So they could see the vessel name, the date, the delivery port, things like that. Very pertinent information about the delivery information. And then you see it's right next to your email conversations. And you could pop this box in and out. So it's very seamless. Another quote from Douglas from M&X. Whenever we have a shipment where there's a question about what happened and when, we have to do a recap. Front, and this is probably common for a lot of companies here. Front enables us to do this easily because it builds a chronological timeline of events. And so if you are ever, I think the nice part is if you're archiving things, if you're assigning emails to different teammates, if you're putting them into a shared inbox, whatever it may be, you can access these conversations that you had ownership or involvement at any other period of time. Obviously, private messages are kept private, so we want to make sure security, personal privacy is taken into consideration. But we're talking about the shared emails. We're talking about archive emails that you're already receiving that you may think are deleted or gone forever. You have access to this, and so it's really kind of a relief, I think, for a lot of folks. Because if they do want to clear their inbox, get to inbox zero, archive things, assign things over, but they're worried about if they're going to need it later, they can always go back and reference that. That comes to the end of our 7 ways, and I just kind of wanted to showcase some of our logistics customers that we're currently working with today. Some names you may recognize, but this webinar is specific for logistics, supply chain, manufacturing, trucking, traveling industries. We have a ton of great use cases for these sorts of companies. And here's just a handful of the ones that we work with. Just wanted to share another quote from Andrew from Logistics Dynamic, who's the carrier agent and support manager. Every growing company will come to a crossroads of sort. You're bringing in more business, you're hiring more people, but you'll reach a point where your inbox just can't keep up with that demand. You owe it to yourself and to your customers to find a better solution, and front is your answer. So, again, I think at the end of the day, I think traditional email systems like Outlook and Gmail were not built for the way your company is doing business, for the way logistics companies are leveraging email. And this is why so many logistics companies, as you can see up here, I'm not going to read all these quotes, but you could see why and how they're really getting a ton of advantage from us. Great. We have another question from Tina. Appreciate that, Tina. Just about to get to questions. There we go. We're at the question section. So this is the very end, the very last slide. And Tina, I want to get to your question. So we currently use Outlook. How difficult would it be to implement? Is this a complete overhaul of the email system? So it's very seamless. You can basically plug and play your Outlook email system into Front, and we can load all of your emails. You're not going to get rid of Outlook. You could still access your Outlook anytime you want. We don't recommend you working in Outlook once you have Front because it's a very different workflow. A lot of things that we do in Front you can't do in our Outlook, so it's not going to translate. But it is very seamless. You're not going to have to overhaul your email system. All of your employees can still keep Outlook. But I could definitely show you exactly how it's done in a more live demo. So Tina, let's talk after this webinar is done, and we can show you exactly how it's done, where you're not overhauling your email system, how you are going to be able to connect Outlook. And then what add-ons would you recommend as absolutely necessarily within your API? And I think that's a great question, and that really varies per company. Different companies use different systems. So if you're using Salesforce, for example, if you're using HubSpot, if you're using Stripe for payments, right now we're working actually with a lot of different logistics TMS providers to build unique integrations there. So, like I said, we have over 50 integrations. And Tina, I would love to just follow up with you after this and kind of learn a little bit more about your use case, how you're currently, what are the current other systems and tools that you're leveraging today, and how Front can seamlessly plug in. Great. Does anyone else have any questions? Tina, I hope I answered your question. If I didn't, please let me know, but I will reach out to you once this webinar is done and we can have a live conversation. Great. Really appreciate this. Let me know if you do have any questions. My email is right here below, vishal@frontapp.com. That's V as in Victor, ISHAL, V as in Victor @frontapp.com. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. We're gonna keep doing this. We're gonna probably do this every 2 weeks. for logistics audiences. So keep a lookout for the next invite. We will follow up with today with a recording and some more materials on how we work with logistics companies, and then we'll also follow up with the invite for our next webinar. Thank you so much.